Hey guys, welcome to House and Creatives. Ashley and Jackie here. Just gonna drop in and talk about some different things today.
Today we're going to talk about the overwhelm or the lack thereof. Maybe the year isn't starting off the way you thought, had hoped, or you've just fallen off the resolution wagon, and how that might feel, be affecting you, and or is it time to just restart it again or change the goals? Did you set any?
I think that I have like a different view of resolutions. I think I realized several years ago that the pressure that I tried to put on myself at the beginning of the year never seemed to kind of go the way that I wanted it or how I expected it to, or I just was like really disappointed in myself, and that just maybe that was the resolution, that I wasn't going to be so hard on myself anymore. And so I think that I like to, it's things like we talk about here of like, for me, like the astrological new year doesn't start for a couple more months. Whereas like, but we do have a significant change that happens in the first of the year, in the sense of in numerology, right? We just came in, we're in now a 9 year. And that feels significant to me. So I think just trying to feel into like, where I would like to go and like setting goals, and also like just kind of listening to how I'm feeling. Like I feel like all of December I kind of slowly kept kind of amping up, whilst hitting these like really low places, you guys, like really kind of like forced to like look at some things that I'd been kind of working through the whole year and hitting it really low, but in the same time like kind of building up momentum. It was kind of a strange feeling, to be honest. And so I think for me I just more in the sense of like I think I was just ready to like kind of let go of an idea that I had about myself or what I was capable of, and kind of feeling like more like I just was ready to step into who I actually know I am and what I'm capable of. And so I think the first of the year has, in the last couple of weeks, have challenged that,
Yeah.
in senses of like us being a little bit more organized, that these are things within our own business, like time timely organized, getting more on top of things. And I feel like that's been flowing through into my own personal life. But I feel like today I feel like I'm ready to kind of some of that momentum has kind of like come to a head almost. Mhm. you know like I feel like I'm ready for a
It's
nap.
funneling in.
Yeah, I'm like ready for a nap today because I've been doing all the things.
I feel like I finally have some energy, so
Yes.
that's exciting. Feel accomplished this week. I didn't set any resolutions. Well, besides what we talked about for work, but work's resolutions seem different than personal to me. And not even resolutions. I guess they were goals, but they were attainable. And I think really when you're doing goals or resolutions, what is attainable and what is a priority also, because you can't do it all. Do a slow build or slow burn to it, but also get into it a little bit here later in the video. I think astrologically, what is happening has helped base for me, kind of the shifts that have gone on, which we do have a couple videos of, but Ashley's going to talk a little bit more about some highlights here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think also in the terms of it being these goals or these intentions, resolutions, however you choose to word them, is not only like practical and attainable, um, I think also is like what is aligned, um, and what is aligning for you, and what you want to move towards, or what are you trying to align with. And so like slowing down enough to like recognize where your intentions are at, and catching yourself in points that aren't in the same, you know, um, vibration with what you're trying to align with. And there's a lot of talk about that, but this could be like simple terms of like maybe you just want to be more patient. Um, and that could be, maybe this is like you're an impatient driver, like this could be like something where you can kind of feel the rise of this impatience coming as you're driving, and you stop to realize that you have a choice, right? So there's like the choice to do what you have done in the past, which is like me, like flip somebody off or race around them. Like, I don't know your driving style, but um, depends on the day for me. But the other the other choice is to breathe into that. Breathe in and to recognize that we're starting to have that kind of heightened sense. The heart starts to beat. We're starting to feel the tension of the impatience coming on. And so starting to like step into utilizing those tools that help us practice more patience, of like, so I think it's like also about taking the time to recognize and catch yourself, like catch this this dialogue that's kind of going on automatically, because the way that we change those things is to have the awareness around them. And so I think that's kind of the point of setting goals and stuff, is like that understanding that maybe we don't have strengths in that and we have to work those muscles, and that we have to try to, which I think is funny because a lot of people make a lot of like personal fitness goals for the beginning of the year and whatever. But literally, we need to like conify muscles of change, right? Even though that's like constantly happening, we like to stay in these spaces of comfort. And so this is like going, and we're like, no. And it's like, bam, bam. That's how I see it. So I think going back to it is like remembering what you're trying to align with. And how do we catch those thoughts? How do we catch those spaces, the timing in those things, and those conversations that we're having kind of internally, or not having not having those conversations, catching that of like that we're just reacting then. So we hope that you're finding different avenues, and you've got time. You really like you have so much time in this year. It really is supporting how you choose to do things. And like Jackie was saying, Mars has started a new cycle in Cancer. And I think that that alone is really quite impactful, especially just right at this specific time in this space, because it's asking us to be more heart-centered in how we take action, asking us to listen on the inside and slow down and listen to the emotional realms and these more sensitive subtleties that we pick up on, to then make more discerned actions and choices.
Notes for later for me.
Thanks.
Even I like taking notes when Ashley talks, even if we're not videoing, first of all. Second of all, coming from a heart-centered approach, I just want to add on to that. That makes me think of what you just talked about before, is like that reflection while driving. We've talked about it in a few other, and maybe not a few other videos, but another video of the spirituality in a practical place. That to me, that comes from like a heart-centered, like what you do it while you're cooking.
Yeah.
I like to do it while I'm driving.
Yeah, the Pisces Virgo
Yep.
axis, is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Okay.
And then, when I think of also heart-centered action, I think you'll find that you'll have the most success from that too. When, the gut helps make decisions, but the heart has the soul's blueprint. And I feel like the heart and the gut often work a little bit better together than the mind with the heart and the mind with the gut.
I agree with that.
And sometimes it is, we were talking about over breakfast. Sometimes is this is hard to get past. The mind is beyond more powerful than we can like imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But when we take this into account, anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just reflecting on my own personal body talk sessions, like some of the things that I'm trying to come up. I have a problem with food, eating, but my heart knows that isn't healthy. It's out of balance. It is well, it's not sustainable. But the mind is trying to stay in control and keep safe. But if I was to follow the mind, I wouldn't be here. But if I lead with the heart, um, incredible action can happen. Which the heart's got that fire.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of fire there. So that's what I had to add to that. Do you have anything else you want to add there?
Yeah, no, I think you said it beautifully. And going back to moving towards goals or new heights that you want to reach in your own life, how can you interact with all of those things? What's your relationship like with your heart and your emotions and how you understand the world? And what's your relationship like with your mind? You know, I feel like both of them require attention. And how do you do those things?
How do you do them when you're even in a good space?
Let alone when you're not in
Let
a good
alone
space.
when you're not in a good space, which we're gonna talk about when that. So we're talking about this mid-January, the excitement's wearing off, and you're probably overtaxed. Your self-criticism. In Body Talk, we have this term called switching. It is a normal biological mechanism for the body to keep you from overtaxing the body, and the body basically shuts down and is unable to function normally. The body's saying enough is enough, and everyone has a threshold of high or low. People with a low threshold switching can easily switch or shut off from a car ride. I'm trying to just drew a blank there. Oh, taking an exam, grocery store runs sometimes.
Like anything kind of that feels overwhelming.
Yep, anything that feels
okay.
Overwhelming, which will then in turn can lead to self-destructive behavior, binge eating, excessive alcohol consumption.
Like a heightened sensitivity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. It could also be like anxiety.
Would anger be a part of that? Would you if you're anxious and already kind of on edge?
Yeah, that would be your defense mechanism,
Yeah.
which would lead into like the reptilian part of the brain when everything, that is at the core of everyone. Your instincts, your fight, flight, stay. Sometimes we freeze, fight, flight, freeze. There's some animals that do that, but you're normal. You're not normal, excuse me. That instinctual will set in order to protect yourself from a situation that could be just as easily as tripping over a rock. Yeah, like you could get mad at the rock, just for an example. It could also happen, it could happen in a body talk session. A client that, maybe is prone to switching or is switched, they call it like white coat syndrome, when you get in front of a doctor or a practitioner and for one reason or another, you're uncomfortable, so you just turn off.
Mm.
Or sometimes even the client doesn't know when to switch. So we're actually, you either have the threshold is so high that you should be shutting off and you're not. So there's other parts of the body, either within your endocrine system, organs, or body parts that are being affected because you don't know when to stop.
Mm. You don't know when to stop, or you don't know when to switch.
You don't know when to switch, which would be
No, know when to stop.
know when to stop.
Okay.
Yeah, the body is like,
Yeah.
doesn't know. Yeah. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I think the switching, it just seems like such an it's interesting to think about, 'cause as we talk about these things, it always makes me think of so many times in my life that I probably switched off. I think like anyone that is sensitive probably has done this several times throughout their life, and didn't realize it. So I think that's just what it makes me think of, is because um, I've just gone through stages where I was either highly sensitive or highly insensitive, and wondering if I was probably switching or not switching,
Yeah.
know. So like it's just interesting to think about.
Like a screaming toddler in a coffee shop. It's like a
Ooh.
situation that comes to mind, which leads into, we're going to go down just a tiny rabbit hole here, which leads
Do it.
into, you probably have switched from the screaming toddler, but your expectations of a coffee shop experience were already you already predetermined in your mind.
Mm.
So there's two things happening. You have a rigid view of a coffee shop. We've exchanged any scenario where there's a loud noise and you are immediately disrupted.
Mm.
Two, if you are so bothered by a toddler trying to get the attention or something that they want, you yourself are probably internally denying yourself of something you want that you feel like you should probably have. And the toddler, and the toddler is, I use the word catalyst a lot, but is the catalyst to try to show you that you are probably denying yourself because of a rigid view, which is what the coffee shop is showing you.
Mm.
And so with the switching technique, I personally have found a balance and like probably some more patience for outside factors that I deem are affecting me. A little scenario there.
So how could somebody know if they are switched or not? Is there anything that as far as body talk that somebody could use to understand if they are switched or not?
Easily confused lefts and rights that you normally can differentiate from are confusing.
Hmm.
Zoning out, irritable for what would seem like an unnecessary, like if you know it's an unnecessary reason to be irritable, you're probably done. Probably need to take a break. It's just also purely taking a break and not trying to constantly grind it out.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I think we've talked about this too, is like, what about any kind of like quantum leaping or timeline shifting? And, there's been a lot of that this last year. I know that you and I have experienced several this last year. And we were kind of talking about that, of like that usually kind of after you make that adjustment, that you kind of experience some of these things that she was just saying afterwards. And seemingly that things kind of start to kind of fall apart in your reality, like there's things kind of like falling away or changing, or don't seem the same as they were. Right. I mean, to the point where even looking in the mirror, you might seem different. Right.
Yeah.
And so how interesting that is, in what probably our body is able to handle energetically as our energetic selves and the energy around us are changing, you know? And my guess is that we've all been doing a lot of switching
Yeah.
lately.
I mean, especially during the holidays,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where you just kind of shut off at the table.
Yeah.
Like it's too much. Uh, I did it. I was like, I'm going home. But that's also like knowing when you're done and knowing, but to go back to what Ashley was talking about when you make it just like consider like a timeline shift can be a couple different things, but the one I'm going to talk about is like making a decision and then you realize that things are just a little bit different or not of what they seem like they normally were. Um, I view it as the body takes a little bit of time to catch up. Like the mind, for some odd reason, um, can sometimes handle it. The heart already knows, but the body is just like, what in the fuck is going on around here? And so you're not like the three aren't aligned, and the three for optimal health need to be aligned. And that's also something, communicating, the head, heart, and gut brains. We want these all three aligned and communicating. But to move on to something else that I want to talk about, not only can switching affect your like an endocrines, organs or body parts, but it can also be affecting a chakra. And the chakra that I am very much into is Ashley noticed because I've been putting orange on dang near everything, is the sacral. And that is the kidneys, testes, ovaries, prostate, the color orange, desires. We can look at it two different ways. The limited consciousness, which is, do you have there's orange behind us.
I know. I was always, as you were bringing it up, I was like, oh.
Someone with a limited consciousness that is, or, something that is affecting the sacral, be hard on themselves, compulsive behaviors, once again, switching, jealousy, lack thereof, no creativity. If it were a healthy consciousness of the sacral, we're going to be looking at a healthy body awareness, creative living, such as creative living would be like going to the fridge, looking what's in the fridge and creating a meal out of that. That's creative. To me, that is like a creative living. Like you're really tapping into the feminine side, which this is a masculine chakra, but tapping into the feminine side of said chakra, right? You're using both sides. The act of going to the fridge and then creating something from the act. And then natural joy and pleasure. It would be a healthy consciousness of that chakra. Do you have just some thoughts?
Yeah. Fun fact, orange is my favorite color. So of course I noticed that Jack was using lots of orange. But I think a couple different things, the sacral chakra is, really represents our ability to find the sweetness in life, our, like the desire to explore how sweet life could be, and how do we do that? Like, and I feel like the dive into the sacral chakra is about desire, and desire is relative to Scorpio, very much in tune with the ovaries and testes and our sexual organs. And like in Hindu culture, it, is represented by the crocodile, the Makara. And it is basically how the crocodile sits under the water, and that the underwater being kind of like the desires, where the desires sit. where a lot of times we desire things, but we have different beliefs that come in, or an external reflection that doesn't reflect back to what we desire, most likely because of limiting beliefs and traumas and different things, right? But like, so the what's unseen is the desires, and the crocodile being able to move through those and bring them up to the surface. It kind of a cool visual sense of like how we can reach for those desires, and how a lot of times our desires, we have to kind of do the work in the darkness. We have to kind of um, do things to kind of stimulate that creativity to allow them to come up. And I think it's like, just like Jackie was talking about, is like creative living, of like, okay, so we've found the desire. Now, how do we creatively find ways to express that? Like, this is the epitome of Hallison creatives, right? Is like, Jackie and I have desires to do certain things or share certain things, and we have to creatively kind of find ways to find expression in those. And it's a constant thing, and it's not always there. We can't always be tapped into that creative energy, because the other side of that is that the sign is represented by water, and water in traditional Chinese medicine is winter. And that is a time of rest, and how contradictory that kind of feels, in the sense that water is asking us to slow down and tune in and go with the flow, to, but also offers up all of this creativity. And look how beautiful that is in this yin space, like, where we are able to go to the depths and the darkness and the stillness, right? And we're able to see underneath the surface and get to those desires, to try to start recognizing these programs of controls and these restrictions that we've put on ourselves, and breaking free from them, to be able to unlock that creative force behind it, right? Like in the seasons. And so really allowing yourself to maybe move through, like, maybe you've set these intentions or whatever for the year, and this is like such a beautiful time to go within and explore uh what's underneath the surface, and what's the desire of those intentions, what's the actual desired outcome, or what's the desired consciousness that comes out of you setting and meeting these goals. And so finding creative avenues to continue to follow through with the energy that you're seeking, is just something that I think is really profound. And I feel like, even astrologically, there's lots of things support. We have so many things in water right now, you guys. Just switching over to the Pisces Virgo axis for the nodes, Mars in Cancer. We have several planets in Pisces right now. So there is a lot of water present, asking us to kind of like internally reflect on what's inside, and what the desire is. What's the pulse here? What's the hum? And then being able to see kind of all the fears that entangle us, and the guilts or the shames, or like what have you, that are interweaved and kind of tangling, strangling some of these desires, and being able to unlock that, because correct me if I'm wrong, is that like the kidney axis is in that kidney bladder. Um, and and that is relative to fear, right? Fear and guilt. So recognizing what's kind of coming out of the dark with those things, and being able to see the reflection as if you were looking in the water, to seeing of like, okay, this is real and this isn't real. And so I think those are things that I have to say, and really trying to slow down and listen to the softer, more subtle things around you.
Yeah. I was doing some reflecting right there. I was like,
Would you like to look in my water? What do you think? This is a great time to be drinking a lot of water too.
well, and the kidneys are a water, that's their element.
And that is where our life force lives. That, it is said that when we're born, like all of our vitality is in the kidneys, and if we are entangled in fear and guilt constantly, how is that draining your own magnetism? How is that draining your ability to pursue your ambitions and your desires? you know and so there's several things you could do. Obviously, I believe strongly in the body talk modality. Can be a really helpful tool. There I do stone medicine treatments. Those work a lot with the meridians, and we can kind of focus a lot on letting go of guilt and fear, and kind of sparking up some passion. you know there's also small things that you could just do at home. Taking time to reflect and journal some of these things. We've got some different ebooks that might be useful to you. Listening to any of the number 369, 639, 963, any of those hertz music. There's so many on YouTube. Listening to that often, even, if you can manage things while you sleep, that's a great time to work on the subconscious level also. Working and doing some of your own release work, however that looks. you know is that like burning things? Is that clearing out clutter? Is that you know communicating more? For each person it could be very unique and individualized, and how you begin to work with that chakra center, and how you alleviate some of these entanglements. Yeah, I think that's I think if you look at eating more like bitter foods, I think that also that helps promote joy. So in that joy, we then release some of the fears and stuff of, feeling a little bit more excited about life. So I think that's the last thing I could think of.
I guess my last thought here is like letting go of perfectionism. This is at the end of the day, this is your life. This is you don't need to listen to how your parents view how you should be doing things. You don't need to listen to your friends. Within, we're talking things within normal reason. We're not talking like doing drastic, extreme things here. But, well, unless you need to, I don't know.
I was like,
Unless you
maybe you need to go that route.
Maybe you do need to move across country. And if you watch this video to the very end and that was you who moved across country, please message us. But I don't know where that came from. But,
if you were looking for a sign,
this was your sign today.
Yeah.
I get, for quite a few years, really, I did pageants, and there was a lot of
These are beauty pageants.
There's a lot of hair, a lot of makeup, and they were rodeo queen pageants. There was a lot of leather. Okay, yes. It was really hot, and then in the summer, and I hated it. And I did it though because I didn't know any better, and also had some really rigid views and some rigid goals around what I thought my life should look like. Now, granted, I was a teenage 22 when these thoughts were going on, so you also don't, you're really following parental guidance primarily. But take this into effect when you are, you're out of that, you're out of the house, you're out of the 20s up until now. Uh, and yeah, who are you living this life for? Because
That's a profound question. So you should say that again.
who are you living this life for? Yes, there are things that we all put value on. What if you value family is important, if you value work is important, if you value your charity contributions, there are things that are important to each and every one of us on different levels. But if you feel I'm back to this moving across country, so I have no idea who this is for, but if you need to move cross country because you need to be near the water, then do it because there's something there for you.
I love that. And I just want to, and I just, as you were talking about the value system, right, of like what you value in working with your birth chart and stuff, of Venus, like where is your Venus at? What does your Venus want? What do you find value in? You know, Jackie's gonna look. uh or what archetype is in your second house? Those are great places to start looking about what you find value in and what you prioritize, and also where's your moon at? Where's your moon, and how do you emotionally conceptualize the world, and how do you process things that are going on around you? And where's Mars? I mean, especially right now in this new cycle and all this water and all, in Cancer.
Yeah. Just remembered.
Ding. And like how can we how do we take action that it comes from the heart and what is feels really intuitively charged? How do we move forward with that intuitive nature, with will and passion and strength, but also using the spaces of like what we value too, of like not just like moving towards things all willy-nilly because Karen's got it, and she's doing it, like I should do it, or I want to do it. Not saying there's anything wrong with being inspired by other people, but going back to Jackie's very profound question of like, who are you living your life for? And are you following through with the desires that are stirring up inside of you? Can you tune into that? Can you tune into what it is that you want?
My Venus is in Gemini. Just so everyone knows.
Jackie values communication.
It is true. That is so, yeah. I'm like, we have to constantly be talking.
Yeah. Well, these also like leave levels of security. Also, you know what I mean? When you value them and you receive that, it creates a certain foundation for you, to be able to feel like you either can find your own expression and express those things and express the things that you value also,
What's yours in?
my Venus is in Capricorn in the eighth house. So I value the structure, and I value the wisdom of my teachers. I value the structures of the universe and learning more about those, like really developing on both realms of like how that feels and what it looks like also, so yeah. So lots of things here, so many things. We would love to hear anything that you'd like to say. How is your sacral chakra doing? And how are your goals or intentions doing? How are you feeling this mid-January?
Sometimes it is easier to talk to a stranger than it is someone close. And so the door is open. And for over here in the house and the creatives section. But that's it for today. So don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. And
We're so happy you're here.
yeah, thanks. Until the next video.